Hello and welcome to the Outdoor Gibbon. Episode 5. A bit of a different format this week. We're actually going to interview Ashley from the Lucky Hunter and we'll see what he's got to say. My schedule has kind of gone a bit awry. I said every 2 weeks, but work and things along those lines have kind of delayed my plans slightly. But there are a list of guests going forward, so hopefully the next set of podcasts won't just be me randomly waffling on. It will be something of interest for everybody. Hello and welcome to the Outdoor Gibbon Podcast. And today our guest is Ashley, who is the founder of the Lucky Hunter.
Hello, thanks very much for having me on.
So let's get a little bit of a background to who you are and how this Lucky Hunter came about.
Yeah, certainly. So really, much like yourself and many of your listeners, I have pretty much been hunting my entire life. Very much sort of came from probably an air gun background, really. When I was since no age, was probably in the back garden shooting with an air rifle. Fast forward into early teenage years, I had got one of the PCP air rifles, and that was me sort of set off hunting all the time, every weekend I could, every opportunity that I could. I was out on a local farm, chasing rabbits, crows, pigeons, all that. And as I got slightly older, I wanted to sort of push on a wee bit to a larger caliber, and I went for a 223, which was a Tikka T3, topped with a Bushnell scope. Didn't hunt with that, as it was purely a target rifle for me. There was no foxes really around me or anything to shoot or anything like that, so that was that. And then sort of fast forward another couple of years in sort of more recent years, when my deer stalking sort of took off and started, sort of early February 2018. I was working in England at the time and just general chat with a couple of work colleagues, and they said they're going deer stalking. So I was like, right, very interested to know. I've never done that before. Big interest in shooting and hunting, of course. So they said, if you're not doing anything, come along. So absolutely snapped up the opportunity and went with them.
So just quickly then, so obviously you're in England. What was the first species that of deer that you were chasing around?
So the area we went down to was Hereford. The two guys that I went down with, they had been down a couple of times previously to the time I went down. In the area there was fallow and muntjac. So whenever we arrived down one Saturday morning and went out for first light, of course. And the two guys that I went down with, they went way off and stalked an area where they'd previously stalked. And myself and the guide went up and we started stalking up towards a bit of a woodland on top of a hill, stalking muntjac. And muntjac was my first deer. It was a successful stalk, thankfully. And I was able to connect with a muntjac buck. And we first seen it. I remember first seeing it. It was sort of creeping through the wood, and obviously so low to the ground. I'd never seen one before. I was like, is this sort of a dog, or what is this sort of thing? It was still sort of dark, and got good eyes on it. Identified it as a muntjac, of course. And the guide was, there you go. There's your shot. Take it.
Yeah, they're such a small creature, really. When you're actually out stalking them, it's it's so different. Yeah.
And of course, I looked them up before going down because I sort of knew that's what was in the area. The guys I went down with told me, of course, but seeing it in sort of dim light conditions as well, it certainly got me going, and I was very excited about it all. A fantastic whole stalk up to that as well. It was fantastic as well, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. So that was really where the bug kicked in, and that was the start of my deer stalking journey. Yeah.
Fantastic. So that deer stalking journey, did that then carry you on to where we are now with the sort of the lucky hunter, or was there other parts in between that got you there?
Yes and no. So what sort of happened after that was we sort of started going down fairly regularly. We went down quite a bit in the remainder of 2018, sort of the same guide and a couple others at the same time, and of course thoroughly enjoyed it. And to the point where in early 2019, the same person, the same guide, offered us the land, asked us would we be interested in taking some land for a year. So we were like, a little syndicate, this is perfect. It was 40 acres of stalking ground. It was pretty much mostly forest with fallow and muntjac in it. We're like, yeah, absolutely, we'll love that. At that stage as well, I had just got my first deer stalking rifle. So that at that stage, I was committed, I was enjoying it. So we took out the land. I had a new rifle, completely eager to get out stalking as much as we could, and we did. We made good use out of it. If we're free, we went down. If we needed some more meat for the freezer, we went down. And shortly after that as well, I went and done my DSC1, which was up in Carlton Moor Range with Mike Dickinson. I'm sure some of your listeners will be aware of that range and area. It's in Derbyshire.
Fantastic. It's a tunnel range for anybody that doesn't know it. Mike basically built a twin tunnel range, so you're never affected by the wind, and it's a great place for either developing loads or shooting.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. It was probably about an hour away or just over from where I was at the time, and so it was absolutely perfect. I went up and done the DSC1 there, and that was that. Continued on stalking on our sort of land as normal, and that was great because the group that I was in, it was 3 other guys who were sort of all taking on the journey at the same time. They were a wee bit ahead of me, but really we were going down there, you're stalking, and we were sort of learning off each other and so on. It was excellent. It was a great learning opportunity, And then sort of around the same time, one of the guys that I was stalking with, he was at a local shooting range and got speaking to one guy who sort of went on to become our mentor. We got a lot of stalking through him. He taught us an awful lot. And that was an absolute fantastic connection and an opportunity. Of course, opportunities like that don't come up for everyone. And we were very lucky to be in that position as well. So that was really the next step on. And as this was all happening, really, it was sort of just, I still wanted to stalk more. And I think you also mentioned in fact, you did mention on one of your previous episodes as well, like once you do your DSC1, were you ready to go out by yourself? And I had the exact same feeling, not really. At this stage, I hadn't went out by myself. I was still going out and stalking with either a guide or the guys that I was going out with initially.
Yeah, I think that's sort of one of the things I found with the DSC1. It's you're either doing it because you've been stalking for a long time and you're just ticking the box, or it's your opportunity to get you into deer stalking. But by the time you finish the course, you're still not 100% sure as to quite, can I do this on my own, or do I still need to go out with somebody?
Exactly. And I went out with people for a long time after it, just because, one, I enjoyed it. I quite enjoy getting out stalking with my friends, like a lot of people do, and it was just building confidence and experience, really, like many of us do. So, and then that was sort of to continue on. That was the rest of 2019, which sort of led me on. I was sort of getting more deer under my belt, so to speak. So at that stage, I had successfully stalked a muntjac. In 2019, I went on to roe, fallow, and sika later in the year, where I actually used the Basque scheme. at one of the local estates here in Northern Ireland, Barnescourt estate. I think I can't remember exactly how much it was now, but I think he paid maybe like £150, just a flat rate, and you went up and the guide took you out and you took your animal, and that was it. So that was my first Sika, and some of your listeners and indeed yourself might have seen the picture that I shared on my social media on my Instagram story a couple of days ago, and that was the picture. That was my first Sika.
Well, at least you did Sika sort of not as a baptism of fire, one of the hardest stalks straight away like me, but you'd obviously built up to it with a few other stalks in between. That
yes,
it's certainly a species of deer that's the ghost of the forest, as they call it.
Yeah, and they are now my favourite deer to stalk, and I'm very lucky now that the permission that I have to stalk on has Sika on it. So they're a fantastic animal, they're a fantastic species, and yeah, I really enjoy stalking them. And very often I'll just sit there and watch them. They're
there's certainly something about stalking a Sika deer that I think it's unlike anything else, especially an early morning, especially during the rut when they're whistling. That seems to be the most eerie time, I think, in you're in the forest and you've got this thing calling out at you. It's very bizarre.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I think that's why I like them as well, because I enjoy a difficult stalk. You know, for me, I don't get much out of it. I'm just sort of getting out of a vehicle, walking up to the field where the deer is always in, and shooting it. For me, that's not really for me. I would rather stalk all day on a difficult terrain, difficult conditions, and get nothing than have an easy stalk. And I suppose that's probably why I like Sika, because like you say, the ghosts of the forest they can be very, very difficult to get into. And yeah, I really enjoy the whole sort of fieldcraft aspect behind stalking in general, and especially behind deer stalking. You know, it has to be applied, but I think with Sika it just needs to be applied that bit more, and probably with a wee bit of luck in there as well to come across them.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you that I think with Sika it's one of those things that you can put everything right, but if you close the car door too loudly, for the next mile there won't be a deer about. They're gone. And that's the sort of the thing of it. It's you have to use everything, and then everything else, again to the highest level, basically, to try and get on them.
Yeah.
Because I find it quite funny when you're out stalking row. You can close a car door quite loudly, you can stomp along the track, and they still stand there and look at you, and it's like, well, and that's it.
Sorry, I cut you off. And they'll nearly walk in. In fact, they do walk in to see what it is. What was that bang? Sort of coming to see what's going on.
Oh, fantastic. Well, it sounds like quite a journey that you've gone through there, but you've got a couple more species then to tick all the boxes.
Yeah, so I come on to another one slightly later on now, whenever I get into the sort of how the Lucky Hunter came around. So as it stands, I've actually currently just one species remaining, which is Chinese water deer, and hopefully get back over to England, over to the mainland somewhere later this year, and get that ticked off.
Oh, fantastic! That'll be good.
Certainly, I'm looking forward to it.
So go on then. What was the aim of the Lucky Hunter for sort of setting this business up? Well, it is kind of a business, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. So the whole sort of thing behind it was going back to whenever I said that, I wanted to stalk more and have these experiences more. And of course, we're all very familiar with YouTube, and you just go on and you watch these people go on these dream sort of hunting trips, over to like New Zealand and South Africa and America and Norway and so on, and everyone's doing all these fantastic hunts. And even throughout the UK, because we have some fantastic stalking available on our doorstep, of course, but unless you have your own ground to stalk, if you're always just going out with a guide, it can become very expensive very fast. especially when you start getting into deer, and if you're into medals and stuff like that, it's, you know, it's a lot of money. It certainly is, and to do it regularly. So really what the idea was, I was like, wouldn't it be great to be able to stalk more? And I was watching Meat Eater one evening, as I'm sure you do and a lot of your listeners do, and they were talking about this tag system that they have, that, you know, they go into local gun shops or they buy a tag and to do a draw later in the year, and if their sort of tag number comes up, off they go hunting. Otherwise they wouldn't be able to do that hunt.
Yeah, that's the American system, isn't it? You basically can put yourself in for a bit of a lottery,
exactly.
For sort of the more exotic deer at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, that's exactly that. And I was sort of like, that seems like that'd be pretty cool, you know, to be able just to go and buy something, buy a ticket or a tag at the local gun shop, and then later in that year, if you get your tag, you're going hunting. And I was like, that sounds fantastic. Sort of new to deer stalking myself, of course, at that stage. I looked into it, and there was nothing sort of like that in the UK, because of course it's all private land really, as opposed to America where it's all public land. So I had this sort of idea, and I think I rang the gambling commission at the time. This was probably about 2019 or something, so a few years ago. And I pretty much told them my idea, what I've just told you. And they're like, you know, you'll need your licenses, you need a gambling license, it'd be like X thousands, so on and so on. I was like, okay, that's not really feasible, really, is it? So sort of fast forward another couple of years, I was busy with work, but I continued on with stalking. And sort of late 2020, early 2021, I'm sure everyone's familiar with, sort of the start of COVID, work started to quiet down slightly, and yeah, I'm back into it. I was sort of watching these YouTube videos again and whatever else, people going all these stalking and things like that. I was like, you know what, let's look into this thing again. From then, at the same time, a lot of competition sites across the UK, across the country, were starting to rise as well. In particular, here in Northern Ireland, there was a couple of ones that was coming along and growing very fast. And I was like, I wonder, will that concept work? So, done a bit of research into it. And of course, whether it was a market and whether there was a gap in the market within the stalking industry. And yeah, I thought it would be people would want it, and went for it. And in February sort of 2021, I registered the company and made a go for it, really.
So does it not? It doesn't obviously fall under sort of a gambling criteria. Then obviously, if you've changed, if it's just like a business where it's a fair, it's basically it's a fair shot. People are paying for a ticket. You're not going down that route of, oh, here we go, we're actually gambling on this.
Yeah. So the way it works is with us and any other of these competition websites you see, the reason you don't need a gambling license as such is because there's a skill-based question to answer. And of course, we have the free entry route available as well for all of our competitions. So, you know, if you didn't want to pay for the ticket, you can enter for free by following the details on our website of how to do that. And all the competition sites across the United Kingdom and so on follow this. This is what to do. In saying that, it doesn't mean we're not regulated. You know, there's a lot of loops to jump through, and it's very strict. It's actually quite difficult to get a competition site up and going, because of the amount of loops you have to jump through and legalities and stuff like that. It is all still checked through by legal professionals and specialists in that area.
So it's not just you sitting down and going, oh, I'm just going to open a competition site, throw some prizes up. There is somebody doing the legal checks behind it and making sure that everything's fair and just and working as it should be.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's just one of those things. I'm sure people are always interested because obviously they're buying a ticket, and what happens to the money kind of thing. But at the end of the day, some of the prizes you've given away for buying a ticket for £6 or something like that, with the chance to win maybe a 2 or 3 grand thermal or a set of sticks or something, it's a great opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And just when you go back there to when you're saying people sort of wonder where the money is, and like it is a business. We do have fairly large overheads, really. If it was just me putting up these competitions, sending money into a PayPal, you wouldn't have to have these larger margins on top of prizes that people wonder where it go. But it all goes into overheads, really. There's a lot of overheads in the competition industry.
I was going to say, if you've got, obviously there's a legal side behind it and stuff like that. Yeah, there always has to be, especially with the business advertising and everything you've done. But absolutely. Wait. So obviously that moves us on to the next bit, which is what's the criteria for selecting the prizes at the moment? How do you come along with that?
So selecting the prizes is fairly simple, very straightforward, really. What the way I sort of do it is sort of, if I thought it was just as a good prize, if I thought that was a good stalking trip to go on, or that's a really nice piece of kit, or it's a new piece of kit or equipment, whatever, then I would usually go with that. What we'll always try and do is work with high quality professionals, outfitters, businesses. We do a research into who we're working with, because I'm sure you know yourself, there's a lot of cowboys, unfortunately, within the industry, and we just wouldn't want to give one of our winners a bad experience or a bad product or anything like that. So we do a lot of work behind the scenes and a lot of research into sort of who we're working with and so on. But that's really it. If it's a good stalking trip that I would like to go on myself, I'll probably do it. If it's useful equipment to the deer stalkers, of course, and if it's market leading equipment. But on top of that as well, we're always open to suggestions from customers. If you're like, whatever, there's a new scope out, you should check this out. I think I'd love to see it up as a competition. Or, would you look at wild boar in Germany and things like that? We're always open to suggestions. We're here to give you guys a service of being able to go hunting and get this equipment for a fraction of the price. If you want to see something, drop us a message, an email, and I'll do my best to see can I make something of it.
Yeah, because I think I actually met you at the stalking show, and we had a bit of a chat about this, and I think there were questions asked, why is it only stalking you're doing at the moment and not sort of pheasant days and stuff like that? But can you sort of enlighten people as to why it was just that route you've gone at the minute?
Certainly. So really and truthfully, it's because I don't really know anything about pheasant shooting or bird days or anything like that, nor do I really have much interest in it, to be honest. And I've never been to a day. For me, it's stalking. I love stalking. I love deer stalking. I love sort of hunting and the fieldcraft aspect of things. And on top of that, there's other competition sites out there that's doing a fantastic job at game days and shotguns and pheasant shootings and so on. But yeah, that's really it. That's really the reason why.
Fantastic. Okay, so another sort of question. Obviously, you started this business in lockdown. How has it been going?
So it's been going very well. So whenever we started in lockdown, of course, it was sort of, I think everyone has to get past that sort of initial hurdle of people not trusting you. Initially, there will be like, this company or this page is interacting, giving away whatever the prizes, and our first prizes were good prizes. We had our first prizes were stalking package up in Scotland with South Ayrshire Stalking. You know, that was a big package, and we done a pair of Leica binoculars as well. So our first prize were fairly large.
I was going to say they're fairly high value prizes that you were first putting out, and I think there were a lot of people worried about sort of scam companies popping up during lockdown.
Absolutely. And but once we got our sort of first couple of winners, you know, I think that always helps. And I actually met our first ever winner, who was Aidan. He won the stalking trip, and I'd met him in South Ayrshire as I was travelling up to Scotland. So I stopped in with him, and I was speaking to Chris, of course, as well, and Aidan, who had an absolutely fantastic time. You know, he had, off the top of my head, I think there was 2 Robux included in the package, and he got 2 absolutely cracking Robux. One was a gold medal, and the second one was another fantastic head. And yeah, that was all covered for by us, so it was absolutely fantastic experience for him. And yeah.
Now that's sort of a package and a half. Now I think you just mentioned to me, well, just before we actually went on air, that it's the sort of the anniversary of the Lucky Hunter. So that was your first prize to give away almost 12 months ago.
Yeah, and today is actually the day of recording, the 29th of June, is our anniversary. This is when we released our first competition, which Aidan won. And 12 months on, we actually have another competition up and running with Chris at South Ayrshire Stalking, and it is an all-inclusive 2-day package, stalking Robux during the rut. So 12 months on, we've gone back to the same outfitter, which is South Ayrshire Stalking. Fantastic, very professional, and it's great stalking up there. So
I was going to say, yeah, obviously, yeah, I saw that came up that you've got another competition. So somebody's going to be very lucky. Well, that kind of leads me on to the next question. So how does a typical competition run for you guys?
So from sort of planning to putting it up?
Yeah, pretty much. The sort of we've taken an idea off the back of a fag packet kind of thing, and we're going to put it out there, and somebody's actually going to go and win it.
Yeah, certainly. So, for example, you're offering hunting. We'll approach you, and you know, with sort of an idea in my head of what I'd like to do. You know, and I will say to you that, you know, I'd like to maybe put a package together. You know, 2 full days stalking, Robux, all inclusive, everything covered. And from that, we'll agree on a package, go forward with it, and I'll send you a draft that you're happy with it. Once you're happy with it, we'll put it up as a competition, and of course run it as the competition. And it's usually about 4 or 5 weeks time, maybe 6 weeks for some of the bigger competitions, that we'll do the draw, and that'll be it. On the live draw, so whenever you purchase a ticket, if you go onto our website now and you purchase the ticket, our system will generate a random number, send you out an email with that number, and that's your ticket number. And then whenever we're drawing the winner, we use Google random number generator. So if there's 500 tickets available, we'll go between 1 and 500. Google generates the random number, and that ticket number will be the winner. So fairly simple of workings behind it, really.
So you haven't had to write any specific software or anything like that. It's all is this an off-the-shelf package type of thing that people do, and it generates the random number, or is that something that you've actually created yourselves?
So initially, whenever we were starting out, before when I was putting this whole sort of company together, the main and one of the most important things for me whenever I was, again, planning it and putting it together, was having a good website. You know, there's nothing, in my opinion, worse than going onto a website, you know, when links aren't working and so on. It just doesn't look fresh and up to date. Doesn't look trustworthy. So we went to an agency, professional agency, and they've put together this entire website for us. So it was all done by them. previously. So.
Yeah, because obviously you've got your social media presence, but there is actually a proper website behind it as well that I noticed, and then now you've got your sponsored ads appear and things like that. So yeah, so it's obviously growing. So you've gone through the competition, so that kind of leads us on to the next question then, which was your future plans, growth, etc. Where's the Lucky Hunter going? What's the next sort of next phase?
So the future plans and growth are really to sort of say, really sort of on the same path as we're on in terms of competitions. We want to keep to stalking, sort of deer stalking, big game hunting. And something else that's another passion of mine is fly fishing, which I think will incorporate into it as well, because a lot of our customers and a lot of our followers and stuff are also into fly fishing as well. So that might be another sort of fun thing to do and add into it all. But apart from that, we'll look to go more probably international trips. So really what the Lucky Hunter was started for was to, give people the opportunity to go and do these big sort of dream hunts you see on TV and YouTube channels that you might not ever go on, or you might take 2, 3, 4, 5 years of saving up to go and do this hunting trip. So that's sort of where we're going in that. I would really like to look at more sort of international trips, whether it is to America or Norway or South Africa. New Zealand would be fantastic at some stage. But with all that, there's a lot more planning and different things involved in it. But something we're definitely looking at. Yeah.
I was just talking to a friend at the weekend actually about trips to New Zealand. It's kind of an untapped paradise, really. I think New Zealand's kind of one of those places. I think you can still just walk into one of the local shops, buy yourself a hunting permit, and off you go. There's no real sort of stopping you there. It's everything's classified as a pest pretty much. So yeah. If I'm assuming you'll get it through a guide agency and all the rest of it. So whoever goes there isn't just going to turn up have to go and hire a car, get a rifle, and disappear off into the woods kind of thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And one of the main things really that we'll approach with caution is obviously having an extremely good guide and outfit to deal with. It's one thing sending someone in the UK hunting, but to send someone halfway across the world or the other side of the world hunting, and it turns out to be a cowboy, that'll be a complete disaster. So we'll be sure to do an awful lot of research into who we're dealing with with that. But for me personally, that would be a dream hunt of mine, is New Zealand. One of them we just dropped off in a helicopter and left there for 10 days or whatever, and you're just going hunting. That would be a dream hunt for me, and that would be absolutely fantastic if we could get someone on a trip like that.
It sounds like you've actually got to go and experience it first, to get out there, to see what's going on, to find the right guide, probably go and get yourself a mountain tar that you're going to be rock climbing down to, and then you can actually put the actual hunt up for somebody else to win. But what an opportunity to be able to just buy a ticket for not a lot of money and have this chance of, as you say, an absolute dream hunt.
A hunt of a lifetime. Well, yeah, that might be the possibility. It might have to happen now, but yeah, we'll see. But all joking aside on it, that is sort of where we're going with it, and we are looking at sort of international hunt trips and sort of options that we can sort of take on into this year and the following years.
I think that's brilliant, because at the end of the day, that's where I think some people struggle, because obviously you look at some of these outfitter prices and you want to go, I don't know, for example, New Zealand. You could be looking at a huge bill by the time you've actually gone over to the country. You've got all the permits to hunt, you take the guide out, etc. So yeah, as you say, to be able to offer somebody the opportunity for maybe a 20 quid ticket, that chance to go and have a 10 grand trip, it's pretty impressive, really.
Yeah, certainly. And that's another reason. So for all our hunting trips that we put together, almost all of them, in fact, I think probably every one of them, and I do this intentionally, is to have them all inclusive. You know, that they don't have to put a hand in their pocket unless they want to. You know, so we'll cover everything from your fees, your accommodation, and all that stuff, your rifle hire if you need it, and we usually throw in cash as well to cover sort of any travel costs, food you want to buy. And what we find as well, what often happens is, say the winner, for yourself, for example, if you won one of the hunting trips, what usually happens is the person goes on these trips, has such a good time, and they've paid nothing really, next to nothing, £10, and they'll take more. They'll be like, yeah, having a great time, I'm happy to take another animal or another couple of animals, or I'll rebook into the same place, the same guide and stuff, which is fantastic. It's great to see, and it's great to hear from us, because we know that we have sort of chosen correctly as a good guide. Hunts have been successful, and so much so that they want to return or extend or whatever it may be.
I think that's the key. Yeah, I think getting that sort of opportunity to go there and not have to pay for it, and then you go, actually, do you know what, it is good, I will go back. And I think I mentioned it in an early podcast, for some people it's the nervousness about booking a stalking or a hunting experience. If you're new to it, it's like, well, what am I getting? And to have that opportunity to go, well, I've paid a tenner for this, yeah, do you know what, actually I'm willing to go back and I'll pay the guide's price. It was a great trip, it was a great holiday. It just opens the door a bit more, and then they can go away and tell all their friends, and suddenly, yeah, there's more people go, actually it's not that scary anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really another aim of ours and sort of goal of ours, is sort of for that reason get more people involved. Like you say, you know, the initial, if you're contacting a guide and you know it's £120 for the out, and then if you shoot something, it's something else, and whatever else. Or another point you mentioned in an earlier episode is, you know, you've paid this money to go out, and you know you drew a blank, and you're like, oh, I've just threw away 100, whatever it was, £150, £120, whatever it may be, just to walk around a field essentially. Yes, the experience is there, but it can be a bit sort of can sort of put you off slightly, especially in the early days, I think, where you haven't had the experience. It maybe hasn't clicked with you, you know, that's just hunting, like, and we'll never guarantee that you'll go on one of the hunts that we sort of have put together and you'll 100% connect. Like, we can't guarantee that, neither can the guide. So, but that's the nature of hunting, as you know yourself, and your listeners understand as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That is hunting down to a T at the end of the day. But a good guide will always try that extra bit. I remember taking people out for a stalk, and we'd done the three stalks basically, which was part of the competition win. And we'd seen an animal, but we couldn't ever connect with it. And it only happened on I was like, oh, we'll squeeze another one in Sunday night kind of thing. And you squeeze that fourth one in because you really want them to get something, and you make the connection and everything comes together. And a good guide, that's why, what you're doing will make sure that that person who is there is going to get something, even if it is saying to them, well, look, you didn't connect on this trip, well, we've done it before, we've had guests out, and you end up saying to them, well, come back in the future, and we'll take you out again, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so the big question I think that people would probably want to know is, what's the next big competition you've got coming up?
So the next big competition coming up, without giving too much away, I'm sure you've probably guessed me saying international here and international there. We have an international trip sort of planned in the pipeline. It was to go up for our 1 year anniversary, but it's not just quite ready to be announced yet or launched. So I'm holding back on it just till we get everything right, everything perfect for it. And that will be announced. So sort of avoiding your question there, but it's international and I think people enjoy it. I would certainly love to do it. And hopefully whenever we put it up, excuse me, that everyone else will want to do it as well. But it will be, another all-inclusive package. It'll be, you buy a ticket. Tickets might be slightly more expensive than, our general stalking trips that we might do here. It could be in the region between £10 and £15 or £10 to £20 depending. But I certainly think it'll be worth it regardless, and whoever the winner is will certainly think so.
I was going to say that's a pretty good teaser, and I won't try and poke you for any more information. I'm sure everybody will love to see what comes up when it finally gets announced. So obviously, yeah, keep watching the Lucky Hunter pages, either the website or their Instagram or Facebook feed, because it sounds as though that's going to be a good one.
Mm-hmm. We're certainly very, very excited about the whole thing. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled.
Oh, fantastic. Well, it seems as though you've got a really good model that's working. People are obviously liking it. There's obviously always, as well as these stalking packages and things like that, there's some pretty impressive gear being put up in the auction sites, whether it be a thermal or a set of Viperflex sticks or a really nice knife and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that keeps people interested as well, because there's always something for them to sort of get for a very good price, if you know what I mean. Yeah,
absolutely. And like I said, like I sort of touched on earlier, if it's useful equipment to the sort of the deer stalker, the hunter, like we will absolutely do it, or absolutely look at it to get you it. And yeah, and like I said before, if anybody, any of your listeners or any of your customers ever do want to see something as a competition, just drop us a message. It's no problem at all. I'd be happy to hear anything you would like to see, and yeah, no problem.
Well, that's fantastic. Probably the best bit you can do is make sure that everybody knows, if you want to just tell them where they can find all of this, just in case they haven't actually found the Lucky Hunters website or Instagram feeds. You can plug away now, because that's probably going to be helpful to get a few more followers and people that are interested.
Mm-hmm, certainly. So if you want to go over to our website, it's just www.theluckyhunter.co.uk. Our Facebook is The Lucky Hunter Competitions, and our Instagram page is The Lucky Hunter and then _.
Fantastic.
So I'm sure it'll probably be linked below, or I'm not sure if you can link it actually under the information in your podcast, but yeah.
I will try and be creative, and I'll try and get some links in there, and if not, there will be I'll put information up to it, and we'll make sure that people know how to get across and can see what's going on, because at the end of the day, the opportunities here are fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And just one as well, I'll mention before you saying, you obviously mentioned about equipment and stalking trips. Another thing we do as well, we give away sort of free things. So every so often we have, so far what we've given away, like our first free giveaway was a set of Spartan Precision bipod legs, and our most recent one was a stalking experience. And at the end of that as well, that was like went out for an outing, shot a fallow, and at the end of that as well, they got the meat from it, or they got a meat box to take home with them, and that was completely free on us. So moving into the future as well, we will look to do more stuff for free, especially for our subscribers. Maybe look at putting some people through DSC 1 or DSC 2, or sort of those relevant courses to the industry as well. So
oh, fantastic. So yeah, that's absolutely great. That's kind of one of those things that, yeah, you're a business, but you can also give people that little bit of something back. And I think that obviously keeps people fresh and keeps them following, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll help wherever we can, certainly.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that kind of ends all my questions. So yeah, it's been really interesting finding out where you started and how it came to be, and how your business has sort of developed. You managed to start a business in the middle of lockdown as well, and it's doing well at the end of it, with the opportunity for people to go on some absolutely amazing experiences going forward.
Probably not the best time to be starting it out, but thankfully it's worked well, and thanks very much to all our customers so far, and thanks very much to anyone who is going to purchase the ticket as well. It's much appreciated, and we appreciate the support.
Obviously, I met you at the stalking show. Are there any other shows you're going to be doing or going to this year?
We have none in the pipeline. We've nothing planned for doing it. We'll probably do the stalking show again next year, and possibly one other show, I would imagine. But yeah, nothing confirmed. But if you are following our social medias, we will keep you posted on that. But we really enjoyed the stalking show, and we obviously met yourself, which is fantastic to catch up with you, and we met loads of other customers and winners and so on. So we enjoyed the stalking show, and hopefully we'll get another show in next year as well.
Fantastic. Well, we'll probably conclude that podcast here. If there's any questions that people want to ask Ashley or anything like that, they can either leave a comment or head on over to his one of his pages and drop him a message. I'm sure he'll be more than willing to answer any questions that people have got. And if not, go out and buy a ticket, because by the sounds of it, some of these next competitions are going to be really good.
Absolutely. And I'll just reiterate on that. If you ever do have a question about any of the competitions as well, just drop us a message. It's no problem at all. I'll happily answer any questions you have.
That ends another podcast. Hopefully people found that interesting. Certainly was. Well, some of the competitions that they run, the prizes are absolutely spectacular. And when you consider for as little as a £10 note, you can have the opportunity to win something that's a few £1,000s. It's certainly worth having a look. I'll try and put some links and their handles for Instagram and Facebook in the comments or in the blurb of this podcast. Anyway, hopefully we will catch you again with episode 6 and another guest. Anyway, speak to you soon. Bye for now.